So, good morning, everyone. We are Group 10, and we are going to present our 3 new sensor ideas for Sensorion. Now, imagine that you are in a world where these ideas are actually a reality.
Hachi! Hachi!
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Hey, you are sick, right?
No, I just have this annoying pollen allergy, you know.
Don't you have the new pollen app yet?
No, I don't. What's that? Ha!
Well, what is he talking about, and where does Sensorion fit into that scenario? Actually, we developed a new pollen sensor for people with pollen allergy. And the great thing is, we can use a technology which already exists. Sensorion already has sensors which detect particles in the air, and by using the same technology the other group presented before with the Spectre, we could analyze these particles and find out if pollen are in the air or not.
And yeah, to address who would have this a need for like such a pollen detector, well, in Switzerland, roughly 1 in 6 people has pollen allergies. So here, that's, I don't know, quite a few already. And that means like 1.2 million people in Switzerland alone that have hay fever and could use the help of a sensor which tells them there's a higher pollen concentration here or places to avoid. And worldwide, we're talking 2.6 billion people. So that's more than the previous group mentioned. So that's really a big market and a big opportunity to help a lot of people and make a big impact. So if we at Sensorion could produce this in high quantities at low prices, we could install them everywhere, in street lamps, in gardens, in balconies, anywhere, and we could really maximize the help, kind of the human development in this field. As for this idea, well, it's a great idea. So we're not the first, but there are competitors. Shinye Technology, for instance, has been working on this for quite a few years, I think like 2-3 years, but they are releasing pretty soon yet. And AllerSense has kind of a smart sensor which just analyzes air quality in general. And at $250 for one single sensor, that's too expensive.
So by creating a smaller and cheaper sensor, Sensorion could really be a help for a lot of people, because today pollen maps or pollen apps already exist, but they're like for big cities or for big areas. So by having smaller and cheaper sensors which are placed like everywhere in a commune or in a town, we could personalize this pollen detection and could really tell the people where to go at and where to walk to without to avoid a lot of pollen.
That's amazing, man. Everybody with this allergy should have this sensor.
Wow, look at those apples. They look so nice.
Yeah, let's buy some and go to the beach and have a picnic.
Oh, look. This one looks really tasty.
How do they do that? In the stores, the apples always look so good. All the fruits, they look so fresh and ready to eat.
Actually, there is a secret behind all these beautiful apples. So, before being on display, these apples were actually submitted to an ethylene treatment. But what exactly is ethylene? So, ethylene is a natural plant hormone that is released by plants and fruits in the form of a gas, which is the C2H4. And when the fruits are exposed to the ethylene, they will ripen more quickly and they will give off more ethylene themselves. So they will create sort of a domino effect that speeds up the ripening process, and it will affect not only the fruit that is giving off the ethylene, but also the other fruits that are surrounding this particular fruit. So this sensor will detect the ethylene concentration and that is released by the plants or the fruits, and we will know how the ripening process is, and we will be able to choose the right time for either harvesting the fruits and the plants, or when should we put them on display, or when should we sell them? And how will we measure them? So we will measure them as well with existing technology, which is the NDIR technology, which is the non-dispersive infrared technology, and the CMO Sense, which is a technology developed by Sensorion. And both of these are actually in the CO2 sensor that Sensorion has already produced. So by using already existing and patented technology, we will be saving a huge amount of money in the investigation and also in the sensor development stages. And that is one of the biggest advantages of the ethylene sensor.
Well, but how are we going to build a business out of that? Let me give you 2 examples. The first one is about the market that is not really there yet, but it is about to come and it will be huge. Imagine you a drone equipped with an ethylene sensor flying over a wheat field while measuring the concentration of ethylene of the crops. Provided the concentration of ethylene of a certain crops is just right, then it gets harvested. If this is not the case, it doesn't get harvested and it can further grow. So we are talking about precision farming, enabled through a sensor of Sensorion. And think about what we can achieve through that. We can reduce food waste tremendously. We can increase productivity, and at the same time, we can increase the yield. The second example, it's about the market that is already there and that can be entered immediately. Before bananas get displayed in the supermarket, the ethylene concentration in the warehouse is increased. So the bananas, they turn yellow. As you can see, the ethylene concentration is crucial for beautiful yellow bananas. And the sensor can decide and make the difference whether a banana is going to be bought in the shop or not.
So sensors that can detect ethylene already exist, but are too big, too expensive, or not accurate enough, and our sensor could fix this. As it was said earlier, we would use the same technology as Sensorion already uses, so we would save money from the development and research, and that would make the sensor more cheaper. And this technology also makes it possible to make the sensor smaller and more accurate. So in conclusion, we would measure the concentration of ethylene, and that would give us information about the ripeness, for example, of the fruit, and that this information is useful for farms and supermarkets.
Oh wow, that's so innovative.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's get some fruits and go to the beach.
Oh, come on, guys, let's go have a swim before we have our picnic.
I just got a notification from my UV app.
So, you might be curious what he is talking about. But you might forget that we are in the better world. In the world when the Sensorion sensors changed the way we think. We have managed that one of the biggest problems of health is the skin, because of the sun we have energy, but the sun contains or just emits the UV lights, UV radiation. The UV radiation is divided into 2 main, which are present on the Earth's surface, which is UVA and the UVB. Ultraviolet radiation, as well as I said, the UVA or UVB, is kind of electromagnetic radiation. And we have decided to measure it. So the principle is based on the particle interaction with exciting electrons, which can cause a current if the energy of the photon is high enough. This current can be therefore measured. The whole technology is based on the one optical chip. Back to our world, to the world where these sensors are not made by Sensorion. The current market is already established, but there are a lot of problems with currently offered chips. They are too, but really too big, so we can't use it. They are really, really expensive. Just when we are talking about high quality sensors, we are talking about 83 euros per piece. And we have decided that we will give a challenge to the Sensorial. When they will be able to make it smaller and cheaper, just like when we are talking about the price, let's say €1, we can attach them to the wearables electronics or the sunglasses. So the chip will be exposed to the sunlight all day. And as for the markets, and when everybody is talking about the numbers, let's throw some numbers. Because when we are talking about the wearables, electronic, just like smartwatch, the market is now something about $14 billion. And the Forbes, just like that newspaper, or just like that magazine, expect that the market will grow up to the $34.2 billion in 2020.
Okay. Thank you. So I would like to talk about the importance of a UV sensor and also the problems that they could solve. So let's have a look at this graph. On the x-axis, you can see the UV exposure, and on the y-axis, you can see the burden of disease. So we see there is a minimum risk, and we would like to reach this minimum risk for every person. But it isn't that easy. We all know this problem. For example, we go out there and we underestimate the sun and we get sunburned. So how could we find this balance? So as I said, no, go back. Yeah, on the right side, you see if you get too much sun radiation, this can cause skin cancer or just accelerating aging of the skin. But on the other side, probably the part we don't know that well, is that if you get too little light, you probably don't produce enough vitamin D, which can also be a health problem. So we would like to find this balance, and how could we do that? So our solution, as already mentioned before, is to integrate a small sensor in wearables like smartwatches or sunglasses that measures the UV light over the whole day or just over the whole exposure time, and then give you on an app or just on your smartwatch personalized information about your sun protection or duration of stay. And this program would also know your skin color or if there are other risks, like for example, if you're taking some medicine that increases sensitivity of the skin. So you would get personalized recommendations and also alerts like we did before. So what are the most important points? We would like to prevent those diseases and also to create more awareness of those problems. And we could also save a lot of money because treating those diseases costs a lot. And also an advantage of our application is that we could use it in two ways, because we have the problem of overexposure and underexposure. So we could, for example, in wintertime in Switzerland, we often get too little sunlight, and in summertime too much. So like this, we could find a balance. Yeah.
So this was the way we imagined the future world using the sensors we thought about over the last couple of days. The UV and the pollen sensor could improve the quality of health, and the ethylene sensor could reduce food waste and improve productivity. Thank you for listening.